The medical wing of the Velith Palace gleamed with soft blue light. Princess Yuna lay on a crystalline bed, her translucent skin showing the fading glow of her life force beneath. The veins that should have pulsed with bright luminescence now flickered weakly, like dying stars. She was 23 years old and had perhaps 2 months left to live. Captain Doyan stood at the entrance, his boots still dirty from the landing pad. He had seen many dying worlds in his years as a mercenary, but something about this place felt different. The palace was beautiful, yet it felt like a tomb. The servants moved quietly through the halls, their faces showing the same resignation he had seen in refugees fleeing lost wars. "You must be the human," Yuna said without opening her eyes. Her voice was soft but clear, carrying an accent that made human words sound musical. "Come to collect the merchandise." Diane walked closer, ignoring the disapproving looks from the Velith attendants. He had been hired to escort the princess to her wedding on a neutral station. Political marriage, they called it. A sacrifice to secure an alliance that might never come. The bride was dying anyway, so what did it matter? "I'm here to take you safely to the station," Doyan said. He kept his voice neutral and professional. Yuna opened her eyes then. They were completely silver, with no pupils, reflecting the room's light like mirrors. She studied him for a long moment. "Safely," she repeated, and laughed. The sound was bitter. "There is no safety anymore. Not for my people. Not for me. Your father believes this marriage will bring military support," Doyan said. "My father believes many things that are not true," Yuna replied. She sat up slowly, and Doyan could see how thin she was. Her arms looked like they might break from the simple effort of supporting her weight. "He believes the Krellith can be stopped. He believes someone will save us. He believes I am worth something as a bargaining chip." "And what do you believe?" Yuna looked at him with those strange silver eyes. "I believe I will die before we reach the station. I believe this marriage is a fantasy. I believe my father is sending me away so he does not have to watch me fade." Diane had no answer for that. He had seen enough of galactic politics to know she was probably right. The Krellith swarm had consumed 17 star systems in the past year. The Velith Empire was next on their path, and everyone knew it. Humanity had been approached for help, but Earth's governments were cautious. They were new to galactic affairs and saw no reason to die for strangers. "We leave at dawn," Doyan said finally. "Prepare what you need." "I need nothing," Yuna said. "I am nothing. A dying girl being shipped across space to pretend she matters." That night, Doyan could not sleep. He walked the palace halls and found himself in the royal archives. The records showed Princess Yuna had once been a scholar, studying ancient warfare and strategy. She had written several papers on military tactics before her illness had confined her to the medical wing. Smart girl, he thought. Wasted potential. The next morning, they loaded Yuna onto the transport ship. She wore a simple white gown that made her look even more fragile. Emperor Hyunwoo came to see her off. He touched his daughter's face once, gently, then turned away without speaking. Yuna watched him go with no expression on her face. The convoy consisted of 3 ships. Doyan's vessel led the formation, with 2 Velith escorts flanking them. They would travel through neutral space to reach the station. It should have been a simple journey. 5 days, perhaps 6. They made it 3 days before the Krellith found them. The attack came without warning. One moment they were traveling through empty space. The next moment the sensors screamed warnings. Krellith scout ships materialized from nowhere, their organic hulls pulsing with sickly green light. They moved like insects, fast and erratic. "Battle stations!" Doyan shouted. His crew moved with practiced efficiency, but they were a transport ship, not a warship. The Velith escorts moved to intercept, their elegant ships firing beams of concentrated psychic energy. It was not enough. The Krellith had numbers on their side. Doyun watched as one escort exploded in a ball of fire. The second tried to retreat, but was swarmed by smaller Krellith fighters. "Captain, the princess's ship is taking fire," his lieutenant Ji-Wan shouted. Doyun saw it happening. The transport carrying Yuna was breaking apart, its hull torn open by Krellith weapons. He had seconds to make a choice. He could run, save his crew, complete the mission by abandoning the cargo. Or he could do something stupid. He chose stupid. "Hard turn. Bring us alongside that transport. G1, get the airlock ready. We are going in." "Captain, that is insane." "Do it." Dayan ran to the airlock himself, pulling on an emergency suit. Through the window, he could see the dying transport, atmosphere venting into space. He could see Valith attendants floating in the void, already dead. And there, in the wreckage, he saw Yuna. She was alive, her silver eyes wide, her fragile body protected by an emergency shield that would last maybe another minute. He jumped. In the zero gravity of space, he fired his suit's thrusters, flying toward the wreckage. Debris bounced off his helmet. A Krellith fighter screamed past, close enough that he felt the heat from its weapons. He did not stop. He reached Yuna and grabbed her. She looked at him with surprise, as if she could not believe anyone would come back for her. He activated his return line and they rocketed back toward his ship. Ji-Wan caught them at the airlock and pulled them inside. "Get us out of here," Doyan shouted. The ship's engines roared to life. They jumped to faster than light travel just as another Krellith ship arrived. When they finally dropped back to normal space, they were nowhere near the neutral station. They were in an unmapped system, and the navigation computer was damaged. Dayan pulled off his helmet and looked at Yuna. She sat on the floor of the airlock, still wrapped in the emergency shield, staring at him. "You came back," she whispered. "Why did you come back?" "I don't leave people behind," Doyan said. "But I am dying anyway. In weeks, perhaps days. You risk your ship, your crew, for someone already dead." Doyan knelt down so he was at eye level with her. "You are not dead yet. And while you are alive, you deserve a choice about how you spend your time. Not as a bargaining chip. Not as merchandise. As a person." For the first time, Yuna's silver eyes showed something other than resignation. They showed hope, small and fragile, but real. "I know people," Doyan said slowly. "Humans who do experimental medical work. It is dangerous and painful and might not work. But it might save your life. If you want to try, why would you do this for me?" Dayan thought of his own family, lost years ago when he could not save them. He thought of all the times he had watched the powerful sacrifice the weak. He was tired of it. "Because everyone deserves a choice," he said simply. Yuna looked at him for a long time. Then she nodded. "Then let us try." The research station existed in a place most governments pretended not to know about. It floated in the darkness between stars, a collection of modules and laboratories where scientists did work that was illegal on Earth. Dr. Minji ran the medical wing, and she owed Doyan 3 favors from years past. He was calling them all in at once. "You brought me a dying alien princess," Minji said, looking at Yuna through the medical scanner. "This is either the bravest or stupidest thing you have ever done." "Probably both," Doyan admitted. "Can you help her?" Minji studied the readings with a frown. "Her cellular structure is collapsing. The Valith rely on a form of psychic energy to maintain their biological functions. Hers is fading, and once it reaches 0, she dies. No known cure exists. What about an unknown cure?" Doyan pressed. Minji looked at him, then at Yuna. The princess sat quietly on the examination table, her translucent skin now barely glowing at all. She looked like a ghost. There is something experimental, Minji said slowly. We have been working on genetic integration therapy, combining human DNA with other species to stabilize failing biology. It has never been tested on a Valith. What does it involve? Yuna asked. Her voice was weak but steady. Pain, Minji said bluntly. Massive amounts of pain. We would need to rewrite your genetic code while keeping you alive. We would integrate human healing factors, human cellular regeneration, human immune responses. We would also need to install neural implants to help your brain process the changes. The procedure takes weeks, and most test subjects do not survive the first day. What are my chances? Yuna asked. Honestly? Maybe 20%. Probably less. Yuna looked at Doyen. And if I do nothing? You have perhaps 10 days left, Minji said. Then I have nothing to lose, Yuna said. Do it. Doyen grabbed her hand. Are you sure? This will change you. You will not be fully Velith anymore. You will be something else. Yuna smiled, and it was the saddest thing Doyun had ever seen. I was never meant to be anything at all. At least this way, I choose what I become. The procedure began the next day. They placed Yuna in a medical pod filled with fluid that would support her body during the transformation. Minji explained that they would start with the genetic therapy, then add the cybernetic implants, then stimulate her body to accept and integrate everything. Doyen watched through the observation window as they began. At first, Yuna floated peacefully in the pod. Then the changes started, and she began to scream. The sound was terrible. It echoed through the medical wing, inhuman in its agony. Diane wanted to stop the procedure, to pull her out, but Minji held him back. If we stop now, she dies immediately, Minji said. The only way out is through. So Doyun stayed and listened to Yuna scream. He stayed when the medical staff looked away in discomfort. He stayed when his second-in-command Ji-Wan begged him to end it. He stayed because Yuna had no one else, and he had promised her a choice. On the third day, the screening stopped. For a terrifying moment, Doyen thought she had died. Then he saw her eyes open inside the pod. They were still silver, but now they glowed with a new intensity. She looked at him through the glass and mouthed two words, "Keep going." Minji had programmed the medical computers to show Yuna educational materials during her conscious moments. She gave her access to human history files, military records, survival stories. Diane did not understand why until Minji explained. She needs to understand what she is becoming, Minji said. Human genetics carry memories of survival. Our species has nearly gone extinct a dozen times, and we clawed our way back each time. That stubbornness, that refusal to surrender, it is written into our DNA. She needs to embrace it. Yuna absorbed everything. Between waves of agony, she watched recordings of human wars. She studied battles where outnumbered forces won through pure determination. She learned about Earth's history of humans surviving impossible situations through sheer stubbornness. Your people never give up, she said to Doyen during one of his visits. Her voice came through the pod speaker system, distorted but clear. Even when you should. Even when it makes no sense. You just keep fighting. It is our best and worst quality, Doyen said. It is beautiful, Yuna whispered. All my life, I was taught to accept my fate with grace. To die quietly and not cause trouble. But humans would rather burn the universe down than accept defeat. Is that what you want? Doyen asked. To burn things down? I want to live, Yuna said. And if the universe does not like that, it can burn. On the 10th day, something changed. The medical readings went wild, showing impossible spikes in energy. Minji ran to the controls, trying to stabilize the pod, but nothing worked. Yuna's body was glowing now, not the fading blue of Valeth biology, but a fierce golden light. She's rejecting the treatment, One of the technicians shouted. No, Minji said, staring at the readings. She is not rejecting it. She is accepting it. All of it. At once, the pod shattered. Fluid poured across the medical bay floor. And Yuna stood up. She looked different. Her skin was still translucent, but now it showed veins of gold instead of blue. Her silver eyes blazed with inner fire. Her thin frame had filled out with muscle and strength. She stood tall, no longer fragile, no longer dying. She looked at her hands, flexing fingers that could now crush metal. She could feel the neural implants in her brain, expanding her psychic abilities beyond anything a pure Valith could achieve. She could sense everything around her with crystal clarity. How do you feel? Minji asked cautiously. Yuna looked at her, and when she smiled, it was not the sad expression of a dying girl. It was the smile of someone who had walked through fire and emerged stronger. I feel alive, Yuna said. The next weeks were spent in training. Diane taught Yuna how to fight using human combat techniques. She learned fast, her enhanced body and cybernetic implants letting her process information at incredible speeds. More than that, she learned the human way of thinking about warfare. Valith tactics rely on overwhelming psychic power, she explained to Diane during a sparring session. We fight with elegance and tradition. But humans fight to win, no matter how ugly it gets. Survival does not care about elegance, Doyen said, blocking her strike and sweeping her legs. She rolled with the fall and came up fighting. It only cares about results. They sparred for hours each day. Yuna fell and got back up. She lost and learned from her mistakes. She was no longer a princess being protected. She was becoming a warrior. One evening, as they rested after training, G1 brought news. The Valith Empire had declared Princess Yuna dead. Her funeral had been held. Her father had cried at the ceremony, then immediately moved to secure his remaining children's positions. They gave up on you quickly, G1 said, trying to soften the blow. Yuna laughed, and there was no sadness in it anymore. Of course they did. I was worthless to them. A dying burden they were happy to dispose of. What will you do now? Doyan asked. Yuna stood and walked to the window. Outside, space stretched endlessly in all directions. Somewhere out there, the Krellith were destroying her homeworld. Somewhere out there, her people were dying because their leaders were too proud and too traditional to change. I'm going back, Yuna said. Not to the palace. Not to my father. But to the front lines. To the soldiers who are actually fighting. That is suicide, G1 said. The Valith military will not accept you. You are dead to them. And even if they did, you are one person against an entire swarm. Yuna turned to face them, her golden veins pulsing with power, her silver eyes bright with determination. I am not going back as a princess, she said. I am going back as something new. Something that refuses to die quietly. Something human? Diane stood up and placed a hand on her shoulder. Then I am going with you. This is not your fight. You made it my fight when you chose to live, Doyen said. Besides, someone needs to make sure you do not get yourself killed doing something stupidly brave. Yuna smiled at him. And in that moment, Diane saw not the fragile girl he had rescued, but the warrior she had become. She had died in that medical pod, in a way. The old Yuna, the one who accepted her fate with quiet grace, was gone. What stood before him now was something fiercer, something that burned with inner fire. Then let us go to war, Yuna said. The Valith fleet was in full retreat when Yuna arrived. 17 ships, once proud vessels of the Empire, now fled from a Krella swarm like insects scattering from light. Their formation was broken, their crews exhausted, their hope dead. Doyen's ship dropped out of faster than light traveled directly in their path. The Valith commander immediately sent a hostile transmission. Unidentified human vessel. You are in restricted military space. Withdraw immediately or be fired upon. Yuna stepped up to the communication screen. She wore simple combat armor now, black and gold, practical rather than decorative. Her silver eyes stared directly into the camera. This is Princess Yuna of House Valith. I am taking command of this fleet. There was a long silence. Then the Valith commander appeared on screen. Her name was Soman, and she looked tired and angry. Princess Yuna is dead. We attended her funeral. Whoever you are, your trick is in poor taste. I did die, Yuna said calmly. But I got better. Now turn this fleet around. We are going to fight. Fight? Soman laughed bitterly. With what? We've been fighting for months. We lose every battle. The Krelith outnumber us 10-1. Retreat is our only option. Retreat to where? Yuna asked. They have already taken the outer colonies. They will reach the homeworld in weeks. There is nowhere left to run. Then we die with honor, not throwing our lives away in pointless battles. Yuna's expression hardened. There is no honor in giving up. The Krelith do not care about your traditions or your pride. They will consume everything you love, and your honor will mean nothing. And what would you have us do? You, who abandoned your people and hid with humans while we bled. I would have you win, Yuna said simply. Follow me to the hive ship in Sector 7. I will show you how. Soman wanted to refuse. Yuna could see it in her eyes. But there was also a desperate hope there, small and fragile. The hope of someone drowning being offered a hand. If this is a trick, Soman said slowly, if you are not who you claim, I will kill you myself. I would expect nothing less, Yuna replied. The fleet turned around. 17 ships against a Krelith hive vessel and its escorts. By all traditional Valith tactics, it was suicide. But Yuna had learned human tactics, and humans did not believe in fair fights. She gathered the fleet commanders on a shared communication channel and laid out her plan. They would not engage in direct combat. Instead, they would use hit-and-run tactics, targeting the hive ship's weak points, exploiting the Krelith's reliance on their hive mind coordination. The Krelith think as one, Yuna explained. This makes them strong, but also predictable. They cannot adapt quickly to unexpected tactics. We will hit them from multiple angles, force them to divide their attention, then strike where they are weakest. This is not how we fight, one of the commanders protested. This is not honorable. This is how we survive, Yuna said, her voice cold. Your honor has brought you nothing but defeat. Try something new. Diane watched her command the meeting and felt a strange pride. This was not the dying princess he had rescued. This was someone who had looked death in the face and chosen to become something stronger. That the battle began exactly as Yuna planned. The Valith ships scattered into small groups, attacking from different directions. The Krelith hive ship tried to coordinate a defense, but its escorts were pulled in multiple directions. When the hive mind focused on one group, another would strike. Yuna was in the thick of it, piloting a fighter herself. Her enhanced reflexes and psychic abilities let her move through space like she was dancing. She could feel the Krelith hive mind, could sense its confusion and frustration. Now, she shouted into the communication channel. All ships converge on the hive ship's core. Full power. The 17 ships came together in a coordinated strike, all their weapons firing at once at the exact weak point Yuna had identified. The hive ship's shields collapsed, its organic hull tearing apart. It died screaming, a psychic wail that every Valith in the fleet could feel. The remaining Krelith ships fled in disarray. For the first time in a year, the Valith had won. Soman's face appeared on Yuna's screen. The commander's eyes were wide with shock. How did you know that would work? Because I studied, Yuna said. I learned everything I could about the Krellith. About warfare. About winning. While you were fighting with honor, I was learning to fight smart. You really are the princess, Soman whispered. But you are nothing like before. No, Yuna agreed. I am better. News of the victory spread fast. Within days, other scattered Violith forces began seeking out Yuna's fleet. They came in small groups at first, cautious and uncertain. But each one joined her, drawn by the promise of victory after so much defeat. Not everyone was happy about this. The Violith Empire, now ruled by Yuna's older sister Nari, sent an official message declaring Yuna a traitor and imposter. Any soldier who joined her would be considered a deserter. Yuna read the message and laughed. My sister fears me more than she fears the Krellith. That tells you everything about why the Empire is dying. They will send forces to arrest you, Doyeon warned. Let them try, Yuna said. She established a base on a fortress world called Kairos, an old military installation that had been abandoned years ago. It was defensible, had good resources, and was far enough from the capital that the Empire could not easily reach it. Soldiers began arriving in larger numbers. Not just Valith, but others too. Refugees from destroyed colonies. Mercenaries looking for a cause worth fighting for. Even some humans, drawn by Doyen's reputation. Among them was a young human pilot named Haniel. He was barely 20, with bright eyes and too much enthusiasm. He sought out Yuna personally. I heard you died and came back stronger, Haniel said. I heard you beat the Krellith using human tactics. I want to fight with you. Why? Yuna asked. This is not your war. Because you give people hope, Haniel said simply. And hope is worth fighting for. Yuna looked at this young human and saw in him the same stubborn determination that had saved her life. She nodded. Then you will fly with my personal squadron. Try not to get killed. Haniel grinned. I will do my best. The fortress grew into something more than a military base. It became a symbol. People started calling Yuna the Phoenix Princess and the Golden Blade. Stories spread about her transformation, exaggerated with each retelling. Some said she had died and been resurrected by human technology. Others said she was part machine, part alien, all warrior. Commander Silman became Yuna's second-in-command. One night, over drinks in the command center, she asked the question everyone wanted to know. What is your goal here? Are you trying to reclaim your throne? I have no interest in thrones, Yuna said. The Empire is a corpse pretending to be alive. It clings to old traditions while the galaxy burns. Then, what do you want? Yuna looked out at the fortress, at the soldiers training in the courtyard, at the ships being repaired in the hangars. I want to build something new. Something that survives not because of bloodlines or tradition, but because it is strong enough to survive. That sounds like rebellion. No, Yuna said. Rebellion implies I want to change the Empire. I want to replace it. Soman stared at her in shock. You are talking about civil war. I am talking about evolution, Yuna corrected. The old ways are dying. I am simply helping them along. Diane found Yuna that night standing on the fortress walls, looking up at the stars. He had been by her side through everything, and he knew her moods by now. She was troubled. Regretting your choices? He asked. Never, Yuna said. But I wonder sometimes if I am becoming a monster. I am leading people into war. Some will die because of my decisions. Some will live because of them, Doyen said. You gave these people something they lost, a reason to fight. That is not monstrous. You gave me that, Yuna said, turning to face him. You gave me a choice when I had none. You believed I could be more than what I was born to be. You did the hard part, Doyen said. I just pointed you in the right direction. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Their relationship had changed over the months. What started as duty had become partnership, and partnership had become something deeper. Neither of them had spoken about it directly, but it was there in every shared glance and quiet moment. "The Krellith will come for us," Una said. "They have identified this place as a threat. My spies say they are gathering a massive fleet. How long do we have?" "Weeks, maybe a month." "Then we prepare," Doyen said. "And we show them that some flames cannot be extinguished." Una smiled at that. She had been a dying ember once, fading quietly into darkness. But Doyen had given her fuel to burn brighter. And now she would burn so bright that the whole galaxy would see. "Tell the commanders to gather," Una said. "We have a battle to plan. And when the Krellith arrive, they will learn what happens when you try to extinguish a phoenix." 3 weeks before the Krellith arrived, the Valith Empire made its move. Admiral Taiyong arrived at the Kairos fortress with a fleet of 30 ships and an ultimatum: surrender or be destroyed. Taiyong was old by Valith standards, his translucent skin showing the deep blue of age and experience. He had served the Empire for 60 years and believed in it with every fiber of his being. He appeared on Yuna's communication screen with a sad expression. "Princess Yuna, I served your father and your grandfather before him. It pains me to come here as your enemy." "Then do not come as my enemy," Yuna said simply. "Join me instead. You asked me to betray everything I have sworn to protect." "I ask you to protect what matters," Yuna said. "The Empire is dying, Taiyong. My sister cares more about her throne than her people. While you are here threatening me, the Krellith advance toward the homeworld. Which is why we cannot afford internal conflict," Taiyong said firmly. "Your rebellion divides our forces. If you truly care about our people, you will surrender and reunify the military. Under leaders who have done nothing but lose?" Yuna shook her head. "I have won every battle since I returned. My soldiers believe in victory because I have shown them it is possible. By abandoning our traditions, by becoming half-human." Taiyong's voice carried disgust now. "You are not Valith anymore." "No," Yuna agreed. "I am something better. I am alive." Taiyong sighed heavily. "Then we do this the hard way. You have 1 hour to evacuate non-combatants. After that, I will take the fortress by force." The channel closed. Yuna turned to her commanders, gathered in the war room. Somin looked worried, Doyen looked calculating, and young Haniel looked eager for the fight. 30 ships against our 17, Somin said. "And Taiyong is no fool. He's the best tactical mind the Empire has." "Had," Yuna corrected. "Because I am better." She pulled up a holographic map of the space around Kairos. The fortress sat in the center, and she began marking positions and trajectories with swift, confident movements. "Taiyong thinks like a traditional Valith commander," Yuna explained. "He will try to establish a blockade, cut off our escape routes, then force us into a direct confrontation. It is what I would do if I were him and still believed in fighting honorably." "But you do not believe in that anymore," Doyen said, understanding dawning in his eyes. "I believe in winning," Yuna said with a cold smile. "Jinwu, are the modifications to our ships complete?" The human engineer nodded. He had been working for weeks on Yuna's secret project, combining Valith energy weapons with human missile technology. "The hybrid weapons are ready. They will not know what hit them." The battle began exactly as Yuna predicted. Taiyong's fleet approached in perfect formation, establishing a perimeter around the fortress. It was beautiful in its precision, a dance of ships that spoke to centuries of military tradition. Then Yuna destroyed it. Her ships erupted from the fortress, not in formation but in chaos, scattering in every direction like shrapnel from an explosion. Taiyong's forces tried to adapt, tried to maintain their careful positioning, but Yuna's ships were already firing. The hybrid weapons were devastating. energy beams that could track targets like missiles, physical projectiles enhanced with psychic guidance systems. Taiyang ships had shields designed for traditional weapons. These tore through them like paper. Reform lines. Taiyang ordered his fleet, trying to establish some kind of defensive position. But every time his ships grouped together, Yuna's forces would hit them from an unexpected angle. Yuna was in the thick of it, piloting her personal fighter. She could feel Taiyang's mind through her enhanced psychic abilities, could sense his growing frustration and confusion. He was a brilliant commander fighting a war he did not understand. All ships, converge on the Admiral's flagship, Yuna ordered. Disable it, but do not destroy. I want him alive. Taiyang led the attack, his human crew coordinating perfectly with Valith pilots. They swarmed Taiyang's ship, overwhelming its defenses, cutting off its engines. Within minutes, the flagship was dead in space, helpless. The rest of Taiyang's fleet faltered. Their admiral was captured, their tactics useless, their pride shattered. One by one, they began to surrender. Yuna brought Taiyang to the fortress in person. The old admiral looked defeated, his shoulders slumped, his eyes dull. She met him in the command center, surrounded by her officers. "Kill me and be done with it," Taiyang said. "I have failed the Empire. I deserve no mercy." "I am not going to kill you," Yuna said. "I am going to offer you the same choice I was given. Accept death or choose to live differently." "You want me to betray the Empire." "I want you to save our people," Yuna corrected. "Look at what we have built here. Valith and humans working together. New tactics, new technology, new hope. We win battles, Taiyang. When was the last time you could say that?" The old admiral looked around the room. He saw Soman, a decorated Valith officer who had chosen Yuna over tradition. He saw Haniel and other humans who fought alongside aliens as equals. He saw something he had not seen in years. Soldiers who believed they could win. "The Empress will call me a traitor," Taiyang said quietly. "My sister calls everyone who disagrees with her a traitor," Yuna said. "But history will remember who survived and who did not. When the Krellith reach the homeworld and the Empire falls, will you die defending a corrupt throne? Or will you live to actually protect our people?" Taiyang closed his eyes. When he opened them again, something had changed. "What do you need from me?" "Your fleet, your loyalty, and your experience," Yuna said. "The Krellith are coming. A real enemy, not political rivals. We need every ship, every soldier, every mind we can get." The old admiral straightened his shoulders and gave a formal Valith salute. "Then you have mine, Phoenix Princess." With Taiyang's fleet added to her own, Yuna's forces nearly tripled in size. More than that, she gained legitimacy. Taiyang was a legend in the Valith military. His defection sent shockwaves through the Empire. But there was no time to celebrate. The Krellith arrived 5 days later. The swarm that appeared in the Kairos system was massive, easily 5 times the size of Yuna's entire force. Hundreds of ships, from small fighters to enormous high vessels, all connected through a single alien consciousness that wanted nothing but consumption. "So that is what we are facing," Soman said, staring at the sensor readings with barely concealed fear. "That is what we are going to beat," Yuna said firmly. She opened the channel to all ships, every soldier under her command. "This is it. This is what we have been preparing for. The Krellith think we are prey. Let us show them they are wrong." The battle was chaos from the first moment. The Krellith swarmed forward like a tide, and Yuna's forces met them with everything they had. Energy beams lit up space. Missiles streaked between ships. Fighters danced and died in the darkness. Yuna coordinated thousands of ships simultaneously, her enhanced mind and neural implants letting her process information faster than any normal being could. She saw the battle as a whole, saw patterns in the chaos, saw opportunities where others saw only death. Taiyang, take your heavy ships and draw their main force toward the asteroid field. Soman, bring your squadron around their left flank. Doyan, get ready for a strike on their command vessel. The orders came fast and precise. Her forces moved like parts of a single organism, adapting and flowing around the Krellith's superior numbers. But the Krellith were learning too. The hive mind began to adapt to her tactics, began to predict her moves. What started as a coordinated defense turned into a brutal grind. Ships died on both sides. The fortress itself came under direct assault. "We cannot hold," Soman reported, her voice tight with stress. "They are overwhelming our defensive positions." Yuna made a decision. "All ships, begin evacuation procedures. We are abandoning the fortress." "What?" Soman looked shocked. "This is our stronghold." "It is stone and metal," Yuna said coldly. "Our people matter more. Get them out." As her forces began a fighting retreat, Yuna noticed something. A group of Krellith ships had broken through the lines and were surrounding Doyan's vessel. He was cut off, surrounded, taking heavy fire. She could save the fortress or save him. Strategic advantage or personal loyalty. Yuna did not hesitate. All available ships converge on Doyan's position. Now, but the fortress, someone started to protest, is already lost. Yuna shouted, "Move!" She led the charge herself, her fighter screaming through space toward Doyan's surrounded ship. She could feel him through their connection, could sense his determination to fight to the last. "Not today," she thought fiercely. "Not you." The rescue cost them. By the time they pulled Doyan's damaged ship to safety, the fortress had fallen. The Krellith had won the position. But Yuna had saved her people. Every ship that could evacuate did. Losses were heavy, but not catastrophic. And she had Diane. Later, in the medical bay of their new flagship, Diane found Yuna sitting alone. She looked exhausted, her golden glow dimmed. "You sacrificed the fortress for me," he said quietly. "I would do it again," Yuna said without hesitation. "That was not strategic. That was not smart." "No," Yuna agreed. "It was human. You taught me that some things matter more than winning. People matter. You matter." Doyan sat beside her. Their hands found each other, fingers intertwining. "We make quite a pair. A cynical mercenary and a dead princess." "Not dead anymore," Yuna said, leaning against him. "Thanks to you, I am very Mu the Krellith prisoner screamed in a language that was not made for organic vocal cords. It was a node creature, a small piece of the greater hive mind, captured during the retreat from Kairos. Yuna stood before it, her silver eyes cold and focused. "Why do you consume everything?" she asked through the translator. "What drives the swarm?" The node creature twitched and spasmed. Then, unexpectedly, it spoke in coherent words. "Survival. We flee. We consume to grow strong enough to flee faster." "Flee from what?" The creature's response was a psychic scream that contained a single word. A name that translated roughly as the endless hunger. Through her enhanced psychic abilities, Yuna saw images from the node's mind. Massive mechanical entities, ancient beyond measure, consuming entire star systems. The Krellith were not conquerors. They were refugees, desperately fleeing something worse. Yuna brought this information to her war council. Taiyang, Soman, Doyan, and representatives from a dozen species sat around the holographic display. The revelation changed everything. "The Krellith are running from something called the Vexnar," Yuna explained. "Ancient machines that consume all organic life. They swept through the galaxy once before, billions of years ago, leaving it dead. Now they have returned, and the Krellith were their first victims. So we face not one threat but two," Taiyang said heavily. The Krellith who consume us now, and the machines who consume them. 3 threats, Soman corrected bitterly. Let us not forget the Empire still wants Yuna dead for treason. Yuna stared at the holographic map showing the Vexenar as advance. It was slow but unstoppable, a wave of extinction spreading across the galaxy. At their current pace, they would reach civilized space within a year. We need allies, Yuna said. All of us. Valith, human Krellith, everyone. Fighting each other while extinction approaches is suicide. You cannot be serious, Taiyang said. Alliance with the Krellith? They have killed millions of our people. And we have killed millions of theirs, Yuna countered. But we were both fighting the wrong war. The real enemy is coming. And if we do not stand together, we all die. Lion had been quiet, but now he spoke. I can contact Earth's governments. Use my reputation to convince them to listen. Humanity is new to galactic politics, but we understand existential threats. We have faced enough of them on our own world. I will reach out to the surviving Valith colonies, Taiyang offered. May still respect my name, even if they hate yours, Princess. Good, Yuna said. Soman, begin preparing our fleet for a large-scale operation. We are going to need every ship we can get. Over the next weeks, Yuna worked tirelessly. She negotiated with hostile factions, convinced skeptical leaders, and slowly built the framework of an alliance. It was not easy. Centuries of hatred and mistrust did not disappear overnight. The hardest part was convincing the Valith Empire itself. Yuna requested a meeting with her sister, Empress Nari, on neutral ground. Nari agreed, though Yuna suspected it was only to spring a trap. They met on a diplomatic station, each accompanied by a small honor guard. Nari looked much like Yuna had once looked, fragile and delicate with fading blue bioluminescence. But where Yuna had found strength, Nari had found only bitterness. Look at you, Nari said with disgust. They said you had become a monster. Half human, half machine. You disgrace our bloodline. I am alive, Yuna said simply, which is more than you will be if you do not listen to me. She explained everything about the Vexenar, showed Nari the evidence, laid out the threat in brutal clarity. Nari listened with growing horror. Even if this is true, Nari said finally, what makes you think I would work with you? You have torn the Empire apart. You have turned our people against each other. I have shown them how to win, Yuna said. Something you never could. Put aside your pride, Nari. This is not about who sits on a throne. This is about survival. And what would you have me do? Surrender my authority to you? I do not want your throne, Yuna said, and she meant it. Keep your title. Keep your palace. But give me command of your military. Let me lead the forces that can actually fight. Nari stared at her younger sister for a long moment. Once, she had been the powerful one, the healthy one, the chosen heir. Now she looked at Yuna and saw something beyond her understanding, something that had walked through death and emerged transformed. You have changed, Nari whispered. You are not the weak little sister I remember. No, Yuna agreed. I died, and I chose to come back different. Nari made her decision. Whether from pragmatism or fear, or some buried love for her sister, she agreed. The Valith military would answer to Yuna's command. But that was when the real opposition appeared. As the meeting concluded, Nari's honor guard suddenly attacked. They were assassins, hired by factions within the Empire who would rather die than see Yuna lead. The fight was brutal and fast. Yuna moved with inhuman speed, her enhanced body and combat training turning her into a deadly force. She disarmed 2 assassins, killed a third, and had the fourth on the ground in seconds. But one assassin had gotten to Nari. The Empress lay on the floor, a blade through her chest, dying. Yuna knelt beside her sister. For all their differences, for all the hatred between them, they were still family. Nari's fading eyes looked up at Yuna. "I was jealous," Nari whispered. "You were supposed to die quietly. Instead, you became this. Strong. Fearless. Everything I wanted to be." "You can still fight," Yuna said. "Stay alive. Rule your empire. Let me handle the war." "No," Nari said, her voice fading. "My time is done. The old empire dies with me. Let it. Build something better." She died in Yuna's arms, the weak sister watching the strong one fade, a reversal of what should have been. Yuna felt something break inside her, some last connection to who she used to be. She stood, her golden glow burning brighter with barely contained rage. "Find whoever hired these assassins," she ordered her guards. "Make them regret being born." With Nari dead and no clear heir, the Velithith Empire finally collapsed. But from its ashes, Yuna built something new. She called it the Covenant of Kairos, a military alliance dedicated to mutual defense. Against extinction. Species that had never spoken to each other now worked side by side. Humans brought their adaptability and stubborn determination. Velith brought their psychic powers and elegant technology. Other species contributed their own unique strengths, and incredibly, impossibly, some Krellith came too. Not the whole hive mind, but fragments of it. Node creatures who had retained enough individual thought to understand the truth. They joined the Covenant, bringing knowledge of the Vexenar and their own desperate desire to survive. The combined fleet that assembled was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Thousands of ships, dozens of species, all united under a single goal: survival. Yuna stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the assembled armada. Dion stood beside her, his hand in hers. They had come so far from that desperate rescue in the void. A dying princess and a cynical mercenary, now partners in ways that transcended their species. "Are you ready for this?" Diane asked. "No," Yuna admitted. "But I will do it anyway. That is the human way, is it not? Fight impossible battles and win anyway." "Usually we lose a few before we win," Doyen said with a slight smile. "But yes, that is the idea." The Vexenar Vanguard arrived 3 days later. Massive mechanical constructs, each one the size of a moon, ancient beyond understanding and terrifyingly efficient. They moved through space with cold precision, their weapons capable of destroying planets. The Battle of the Burning Gate, as it would later be called, lasted 6 days. It was chaos and coordination, desperation and brilliance. Species working together in ways they never had before. Yuna commanded from the center, her enhanced mind processing information from thousands of sources simultaneously. She coordinated attacks, adapted to enemy movements, and somehow held the alliance together through sheer force of will. The humans fought with reckless bravery, throwing themselves at impossible odds. The Velith fought with precision and power, their psychic abilities enhanced by human tactical thinking. The Krellith fought with swarm tactics turned against their former hunters. Together, they achieved what none could alone. The Vexenar Vanguard was destroyed, its massive constructs torn apart by combined fire. The cost was terrible. Thousands of ships destroyed, entire squadrons lost. But they won. In the aftermath, as the Alliance regrouped and counted their losses, Yuna addressed the combined fleet. Her image appeared on every screen, every communicator, reaching soldiers of 100 different species. "We were told we could not win," she said. "We were told to accept our fate, to die quietly, to surrender to the inevitable. But we chose to fight. We chose to stand together. And we survived." Her words echoed across the fleet. Soldiers who had been enemies weeks before now stood side by side, bound by shared sacrifice. "The Vexenar will return," Yuna continued. "This was only their vanguard. But we have proven something today. Together, we are stronger than anything the universe can throw at us. Alone, we fall. United, we endure. The assembled species voted unanimously to make the covenant permanent. They offered Yuna leadership, offered her titles and authority. She refused them all. Instead, she took the title of First Warlord of the Covenant. Not inherited, not given, but earned through blood and battle. She would,